Michigan Democratic lawmakers introduced legislation this week that would allow K through 12 students to take medical marijuana and CBD infused products on school premises. The bill would change the state law that requires students receiving medical marijuana or CBD products to be checked out of school and have it administered at least 1,000 feet from the school by a parent or guardian. The legislation instead would allow for the administration of the products on school grounds, on the bus, or at school-sanctioned activities by a student, school staff, guardian, or parent. Oh, man, I could just imagine these kids lighting up on the bus. But nonetheless, Democratic reps Dylan Waglia of Garden City and Jaime Wilson of Yesaplanti said the legislation is expected to affect roughly 200 students who are considered pediatric medical marijuana patients and whose school days are often disrupted when they receive treatment. In a quote, the idea is essentially to make sure the kids are treated the same as everyone else with their medicine, Waglia said. And the plan was dubbed Jaden's Law after pediatric medical marijuana patient Jaden Carter, a Burton student who takes medical marijuana for Asperger's syndrome and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. The legislation was first introduced last session by State Representative Alex D. Garza Taylor and is modeled after a similar Illinois law. The bill did not receive a hearing under the former Republican majority's last session, and in a quote, Jaden has experienced so much and learned that medical marijuana worked for him, but still struggled to receive it while attending school. Wilson said in a statement, they also said, he came from Lansing to ask us to fix it. The bills by Waglia and Wilson were referred to the House Regulatory Reform Committee. Jaden's Law will allow students to access their approved medical marijuana products while helping them maintain classroom and extracurricular success and allow students and their families to have the same dignity as everyone else, Waglia said in a statement. Several school groups contacted by the Detroit News said they were unfamiliar of the legislation, and the Michigan Association of Secondary School Principals voiced doubt about schools' ability to comply with the policy if enacted. Because marijuana is a Schedule I drug under federal law, the criminal and financial implications for schools and educators make this bill unworkable, said Wendy Zadeb, executive director for the Michigan Association of Secondary School Principals. And they say the legislation would apply to public and non-public schools, would encompass only non-smokable marijuana and would require a written treatment plan, written permission by a parent or guardian, supervision by a staff member, and proof of a student's pediatric medical marijuana card. The bills require schools to adopt reasonable guidelines for administering the products, including specifying certain staff members to supervise the process. And the legislation also would add protections for those administering the medical marijuana, including the child, parents, teachers, school nurses, or bus drivers. Both public and non-public schools would be banned from denying entry to a student who relies on medical marijuana and CBD-infused products. And however, the law does include an exemption for schools to stop following the requirements if the public school or non-public school receives a notice from the federal department that the public school or non-public schools will lose federal funding as a result of the authorization. Well, I think that's going to be the inevitable thing. But nonetheless, I want to hear what you guys have to think. And this is Jason Beck for the High at 9 News.
Awesome bill.
Awesome
I love
bill.
it.
How are they going to?
Because
How are they going to do this? They're going to get someone in the
It's gonna be
Department of
tough.
Education that's going to send them a letter and say, if you enact this policy, we're going to cut all your federal funds. That's what's going to happen.
yeah,
I
And
would
it- and
love
it'll
to
work.
see a letter come from the federal government saying we are shutting you down because you gave a kid medicine. That ain't fucking happening, Jason.
What's
I don't
gonna
care
happen?
how much you have
No.
this great conspiracy theory about how hateful and awful the federal government is. They're not dumb enough to keep kids from going to school.
I
They're not
don't
that
know.
stupid.
I don't know. I'm telling you, it's all about protecting the kids. Just
Okay,
telling you.
well, how many universities have we seen do stuff and not lose their federal funding? Come on.
That's to
True.
study. That's to study. That's not to administer. That's a big difference.
Okay, well, I
That's a
guarantee
major
you,
difference.
100%.
Not to mention this is
We can
elementary
bet
schools, and we're talking about
$1,000 on this,
colleges.
Jason Beck. No one's shutting
We're
down
talking about
Michigan
colleges,
schools.
Louisiana does it.
not elementary
LSU does
schools.
it.
What's that, Rico?
LSU does it.
Does
Louisiana State University does it.
So
They're
let me.
they're the only ones that that supplies all the medical practitioners in Louisiana.
Can you guys describe this for me? Like, I'm not sure. Like, in my head, this is what I see the process as. So, as it states right now, like a kid that uses, say, cannabis oil, right, for epileptic seizures at school, the parent has to pick them up, walk them 1,000 feet, like to a field or something, and then they take the tincture or whatever the oil, whatever helps them, whatever form it helps, and then they go back into school.
Yep. That's what it sounds like to me. That's what I'm envisioning.
That's what's happening right now. That's like the process.
Yes, that's my understanding of the process based off this article. Yes, I would say that would be correct.
I mean, then to me, it's a no-brainer that we would fix this. Like,
I get it.
Just as an educator, you would want to do that, right? Even if, regardless of the medication or the cannabis or how I felt about it, as an educator for the disruption of school and the other class, like this just seems like a no-brainer. I don't know why this is even like.
I think it all comes down to following the money, and the reality is that schools receive a majority of their money from the federal government to fund public education, and so therefore. How are they going to be able to do this when it's a Schedule I drug, and they could lose all of their federal funding due to that?
What about HIPAA protections, Jay?
I think they'll be able to.
There is no HIPAA protections when it comes to cannabis. It's a Schedule I drug. There is no medical value, so there is no HIPAA protections for cannabis.
It would if it went to a 3, but it's not now. Yeah, you're correct.
Mm-hmm.
But even to get to the point of even having to say that it's cannabis, isn't there some sort of way to use HIPAA as a stop?
No.
I'm pretty bullish on this one. I think they're going to get it done, and I hope that they can serve as a model for other states to get it done too.
Yeah, I mean, I wish them all the best with this. I think the plan is ultimately going to get shut down, but we'll see. We shall see. We shall see. And I mean, can you imagine one kid being able to have cannabis on the bus and just lighting up on the bus and just tacking out while all the kids are on their way to
They're not
school?
going to let them bring
That's
flour.
not how it's
school.
gonna work.
They're not going to give them bring flour. They're rolling up J's
Oh man!
in the back of the bus. Like, nah,
You got,
bro,
like-
you can't hit this shit. It's medicine, bro.
Yeah,
I gotta
It's
go to the
medicine.
nurse's office and get my pack of backwoods.
I bet.
It's my medicine,
Exactly.
bro. You can't hit this.
Oh man,